someone who teaches, I say that the classroom is maybe the last place that you can continue to have a conversation about some of these things. I cannot guarantee anything else. I mean, I can't even guarantee the classroom, but um, at least that there the head will be mine that will go off.
You have any questions online? Yes. So perhaps I can read it out. Okay. There's one offline question.
Yeah, it's more of a comment than a question. So it's to you, Sarovar. Very interesting presentation. And I was struck by the imagery of the flyover that you kind of ended your paper with, almost ended. So, we have one, and you also have work on Chirag Delhi. So I was thinking of the Chirag Delhi flyover. And therefore, I began thinking of all the flyovers that I've seen. And it's always these uneasy pockets of land where these flyovers kind of, supersede the uneasy, chaotic landscapes, which are, topic, heteroglossia filled and things like that.
And it's also about speed, because there's this
and also the courtyard imagery that you were talking about. So this, it's the courtyard would be one kind of interaction, and this is a different level of communication altogether. This is a different network altogether. That's a different network, and this is a different network. So I was really struck by that.
Thank you. No, I just wanted to say one thing on the flyovers. And I mean, like if you actually look at American cities, there are a lot of American cities, and this starts with the quote unquote the black ghettos, the bypasses, and it's also about speed. It's also and this Paul Varello writes this thing called dromoscopy, which is also about going through it with a speed that it becomes a blur. It becomes like it's nearly not there. And sometimes the rationalities of it, where it's coming from, and these are bureaucratic strokes in some way. This is, in fact, Corbusier had this whole thing about conducting surgeries on cities, and and the courtyard thing is something that comes to me from. I mean, these are things that, because I work on architecture, deluge, all these affective spaces of formation. In fact, the other place which is like a courtyard, and I made some students do a study of it, is rooftops in Old Delhi, or rooftops in in Shaheen Bagh area, because they become women's spaces. Street corners are always occupied by men, and the rooftops are occupied by women. So yeah, these are just, I kind of play around with it. Thank you.
So we can perhaps collect a couple of online questions. Yeah.
Oh God.
So there's a question by Sashwati. She says that this is a question to both Dr. Royson and Dr. Chatterjee. In the discourses in translation studies that deal with the description/translation of a landscape via a traveler translator, there is always a question of veracity, as in how faithful is the rendition. Do you find any such anxieties in the works that you are dealing with?
Chandrani, do you want to take that?
Yeah, okay. So, Shashwati, thank you for being there online, and thank you for your question. It seems to me that the anxieties, so far as the texts that I have looked at, are particularly with regard to the contamination and the purity debate that I had touched upon, and not so much with regard to faithfulness. And this purity contamination debate is deep-seated, as you know, in this phase in cultural and social history. Also, by the time we come to the more popular print phenomena, particularly texts from Bottala and other areas, which kind of is also setting up a parallel market for print and several genres, there is also a celebrated rejection of the standardized, be it in terms of the linguistic phenomena or the cultural phenomena. So to a certain extent, Hutum Pachan Noksha is one such genre which is, rejecting the standardized form of the Bengali language and kind of interspersing it with the colloquial, with the body, with the everyday, with the street phenomena, and so on. So that is my quick response to your query. Annie, if you want to take it ahead.
Thank you, Chandrani. Was it the veracity of the traveler's account itself that Shashwati was asking about?
Yeah, the veracity deal with the descriptions like a translation of a landscape. We are traveler translator, traveler dash translator. There is always a question of veracity.
Yeah, so there is a question of veracity, especially when it comes to, from what I have read, Shashwati, thank you for that question and for being here. There is a question of veracity, especially when it comes to interpretation of cultural practices. For example, when Claudius Buchanan, this Scottish missionary, he sees the Jagannath Yatra in Puri for the first time, and when he interprets that as a truly barbaric practice, it's quite a description. So I have come across skewed interpretations of travelers' accounts in these religious cultural practices. I think apart from that, land such as this, and we should go and explore this. So land, geography is that alluring thing that brings them here. I don't know if they're always dishonest in that sense, but they may show it in a light that is attractive to European readers. If I understood Shashwati's question correctly, I was a little distracted.
So perhaps we have time for one last question, if there is any online. Is there any question in the room? Yes. Take that the final question.
This is a question to Professor Chatterjee. I was, the title of the text, Kolikata Komulalaya, that is very striking. It appears very striking to me because Kolikata is actually in the earlier way of memorializing the landscape is through Kali. Right, the goddess Kali and her abode. That's how it's reputed in the early way of early medieval cartography, if I may use the word, of Shakti Peeth in the, among the 51 Shakti Peeths that are there. But it suddenly becomes Komulalaya, Lakshmi's abode.
Yeah.
So why this transition?
Yeah, see, thank you so much. That's a very important question. Komulalaya, the abode of Lakshmi, this is related to several economic and social changes that are happening around the same time. Kolkata becomes this space for economic transaction, trade, sale, so on and so forth. And so the city suddenly becomes this desirable space of migration for wealth. And for a happy livelihood, as it were. So this repeated question of village dwellers and dwellers living in and around the city of Calcutta, who would take the local commute, the trams, the ferry, that would bring them to the city to attend the daily jobs, the clerk community particularly. So they are in search of wealth, and it's a professional kind of livelihood that they are looking for. And also so suddenly Calcutta becomes this space for which can be now denoted by the image of Lakshmi, of well-being, of wealth, and so on. So it seems to me Bhavani Charan's title is also illustrative of this socio-cultural and economic transition that is happening in and around the city at that point in time. I don't know whether I have, answered your question and you are happy with that. But that is my immediate response.
Happening probably. A certain kind of borderarization, sanitization of the
Yes.
landscape was happening alongside.
Yes.
From the imagery of Kali is seen as something which is related to insidious kind of.
Yeah, I mean, that is there in many literary pieces and also commentaries where, the Europeans, the British residents encounter with Kali, and the, celebration of Kali in the localities is immediately looked upon as cannibal. And it is looked upon as a threat to Victorian morality. So that, of course, is a story that is running alongside. But it seems to me Bhavani Charun's title is more related to this making the city the place for wealth, Calcutta becoming this sudden site for wealth and transactions in material entities. That was also a part of this moment in cultural history. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much. I think we are slowly but surely approaching 2 o'clock. We have a, yeah.
It's more of a comment. From my understanding of the whole conference, I think, well, architect and language, basically, they reside upon the culture. They create a complex mosaic of a civilization that just always goes through changes. So like you just presented that the public space is dying, is changing, it's becoming more homogeneous in nature. But what I would like to point out is that there is always an alternative space being created. I would like to point out how social media is creating an alternative space. Every hashtag creates a sort of a community, a sense of belonging, where people do discuss things and hang out online. There's a meta space that has been created, and the language because of that is also changing, the words and just the whole style and trend of it. And I think that has a lot of potential in terms of working with translations, literature and language altogether. And I think it's the best time to be a geographer, a translator, and it can do wonders in academics, I think.
I think it's a comment.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that's a really interesting point, and it's a note of optimism to end with. We can all go for that. But just to sum up, it's been such a fascinating session. If I were to sum it up using one philosopher, I would probably go with Bakhtin, because there is this carnivalesque quality about translation, there's this carnivalesque quality about cartography. And at the end of the day, every text is a polyphonic text, whether it's translated or not. So I think one could do worse than going to Bakhtin to sum up what has been a fascinating panel. So can I request the audience to join me in a round of applause for a fantastic line of speakers? As per the schedule, we have our vote of thanks, and then we head on for 2 o'clock. So thank you very much.
I use the mic. Right. Yes, it just remains for me to swiftly deliver the vote of thanks.
The
Microphone. Okay. In my experience of being at conferences which were to do with translation, I guess in a narrower literary sense, it always struck me as it was a little bit like being at conferences to do with poetic scansion. It was either just incredibly tedious and seemed to entirely miss the point about literary experience and just life in general, or it seemed to be just fantastic and to get to the heart of everything that we really care about, so otherness, nuance, difference, all of this. Suffice it to say, I think that this conference has been far more eye-opening than soporific. And I think there was a point where Umesh was saying that it seemed like a genuinely new vocabulary for talking about translation was being developed here, which actually stepped around the existing vocabulary and its limitations. And I really hope that that's something that can be taken further out of the papers that have been given this very, very exciting conference. So let me just thank everyone who's been involved in this, beginning, of course, with the Mittal Institute and with Hitesh Hathi and Monica Setia and the work they do for the Mittal Institute, the National Translation Mission and Dr. Shailendra Mohan there and Dr. Tariq Khan, Annie's colleagues from PDPU, Abhinay, Susan, and Niyati, all the panelists, Professor Malhotra, Professor Clooney, Parawi, Kundu, Shash, who insists she's not a professor, but she basically is, Professors Kumar, Chatterjee, Zaidi, Annie herself, and Tariq Khan. But I thought that the people I really wanted to praise, not that that's in any way diminishing the other stuff I just said, were the team at the Delhi office of the Lakshmi Institute, and just all the work that they've been doing just seems so heroic to organize this. So that does mean Annie again, who is a star here, not only as an academic, rising academic star, but also an organizer of all this. And it does mean Monica again, but it also means, Amit, Akash, Mukesh, Nishant, Pooja, Shushma, and Saba, and just all the work that they've done and are still doing now to organize all of this. And I think sometimes that labor goes sort of, unrewarded. So I just want to end by thanking them. But thank you, everyone, for being a big part of this. Thank you.
I'm going to hijack Vidyan's word of thanks with your permission, Vidyan.
Yes,
yes. You didn't thank yourself.
Yes, and me.
Vidyan is my faculty mentor at Harvard, and of all the wonderful things that happened to me in 2023, he's by far the best because he is a wonderful mentor, and he's been with this since conceptualization stage up until now. Thank you, Vidyan.
Thank you.